Seminars on genocide through the analytic of gender. Sounds interesting. So-called whiteness studies. Courses that celebrate the history of Hamas, where a professor calls Islamist militants and their attacks astounding and incredible. Graduate studies that focus on the abolition of law enforcement. Classes on leadership that are just recycled garbage from the old DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion playbook. These are examples of classes that our leaders in our civilian colleges and universities too often celebrate. The truth is, they help cultivate a radical hate America agenda, and we can't afford that same toxic ideology in America's War Department. It degrades our readiness, it's a risk to our forces, and it undermines our mission of peace through strength. At the Department of War, we have a duty to ensure that our professional military education develops real leaders, warfighters who dominate into the future. We're committed to making our own senior service colleges maintain the highest of standards. That those places align with President Trump's commitment to the American people, that our military will remain the strongest in history. That's why I'm directing the Undersecretary of War for Personnel and Readiness to establish a task force effective immediately. The mission of that task force is to evaluate our senior service colleges, where we educate our own. Think places like the Army War College or National Defense University, the Naval War College, Marine Corps University, or the Air War College, where our senior officers go to continue their education. We're going to ensure that the professors, administrators, and curriculum of those institutions are focused on national security, strategy, history, and overall excellence. Confirm that high standards and meritocracy are forefront, and make sure that what we've seen in our civilian institutions never surface in our military education institutions. Trust me, I've heard the stories. I know some of our own senior service colleges, some of those that I just listed, have similar courses and similar ideologies. We need to rip them out, and we're going to. This task force will have 90 days to assess whether our senior service colleges, the list I just provided, are actually effective. They're going to identify any deficiencies and make sure they're focused on core national security issues. We want military leaders who are critical thinkers, that have studied the principles on which our founding fathers established this republic, and that are educated and prepared to win wars. After the wokeness and weakness of Joe Biden's administration, our warfighters deserve training with integrity, where the focus is on the warrior ethos, on deterrence, and on strength. As the Secretary of War, it's my job to make sure those who are rising to the highest of ranks are as prepared as humanly possible. And if we're pulling officers out of civilian universities because they're too woke, then we better make sure our own universities are prepared to do the task properly. And we're going to do that. I look forward to this task force report.